In today's episode of the Agentic Advantage, Masaki and I are going to go through some real-life agentic automation examples so you could determine what's best for your organization.
That's right, Bill. We're going to go through first the framework of the agentic automation common patterns, actual use cases per vertical line of business, and we're going to go through the actual use case in deep dive.
Awesome. Masaki, I'm really excited about this week's episode because this is really where the rubber meets the road, right? These are, we've been in private preview for a while now with our customers, and we have some really exciting use cases, and I can't wait to show the audience what we've built for other customers. And I know we have one specific example with a specific customer that we're going to reveal to our audience towards the end. So stay tuned for that. But before we jump in, Masaki, I think it might be helpful for people that maybe haven't watched previous episodes for you to provide them with a framework, kind of how we think about, guiding customers as they think about agentic automation use cases for their organization. So could you maybe rewind to episode 5 and share with the audience listening today how we think about guiding customers as they think about agentic automation?
Yes, for sure. So if we take a look at the slide I'm presenting here, we have 3 different categories within the agentic common patterns. These are the 3 different categories of agentic common patterns, which we had over 100 customers engagement, and we identified those patterns. And there are 3 categories. The first one is semantic data operation. The second one is natural language processing. The third one is reasoning. We went through all the detail in the episode 5. So if you have not watched the episode, please watch the episode first. And then this is going to be really useful to identify appropriate agentic use cases and the appropriate scope. We call it controlled agency. Within the autonomous end-to-end automation process, you might want to make sure the agent is going to do what you are expecting. To make sure the agent behavior, it's better to narrow down the agent work scope. So that's why this agent common pattern is going to be useful to narrow these specific tasks within the whole end-to-end process.
Yeah, Masaki, if I could build on that, the customer that I've been working with most recently did exactly that. They defined the pattern that they wanted to develop within their line of business. In this case, it was customer contact center. And they had a specific call type that they wanted to address. The specific call type was very high volume, and it took a lot of time for the call center agent. So to your point, they leveraged these patterns to boil down the agentic automation use case to a specific pattern. It was common in their call center, but also was high cost, high touch, and where they believed that agentic automation could make a big value. So I think that's one example. So Masaki, I know you have some vertical specific and you have some line of business specific use cases. Could you show those to the audience just as examples for people to think about, maybe get the creative juices flowing?
Yeah, for sure. So let's start from the vertical slides. Again, we had over 100 customers engagement throughout the private preview, and some went to production already. The notable use cases I want to cherry pick is the medical summarization agent first. This is under the summarization patterns. So a lot of healthcare industry companies have to take the doctor's note and make a summarization out of it. And we use agent, and we made a specific engineering capability that as a backend to specialize to summarize the medical term. So it will produce a very sophisticated summarization of those medical data summarization. And within insurance company, there are a lot of claim adjustication, validation transaction happening. So the agent we co-developed with the customer is going to search the previous denial case from internal system and they match the claimer's information between documents and database, and validated the request insurance with the standard operation protocol. We saw a lot of use cases in healthcare and insurance, but also we saw some use cases in manufacturing and the utility company, like equipment order handling, and even oil and gas company had well-updated routing. This is a well-named update email inquiry classification type of thing. It's really exciting to see many agents across many vertical. And if we go to the next slide, we have a lot of the more line of business, like a horizontal agent we call. The general ledger coding classification agent are the use case I explained in the previous episode. Those are very simple, but because these transactions tend to be high volume, it would give you very big ROI. And the one I'm specifically working on right now is RXP agent. So a lot of company have competition to sell the product, and the customer usually have RFP, request for proposal, and a lot of people work on to make the response. And the solution I'm working on right now is to create a tailored response to win the competition. It would take a look at the previous RFP records as a reference. It would even do the research, and all the agent will collect all the data points and create the tailored response. So the likelihood of winning the competition is going to be higher. So yeah, it's very exciting to see many use cases like this across the vertical and the horizontal.
Yeah, what I love about these examples from our own customers is that we're seeing patterns emerge in different verticals, right? But also, if we look at the horizontal use cases, these are really use cases that affect virtually every company out there. Mm-hmm. And so for those listening today, you could take these use cases at the horizontal level and take them to accounting or finance or sales or marketing, operations, et cetera, and start having conversations with the line of business subject matter experts and with the leaders in that organization. Talk about the power of agentic automation and where it could be leveraged in some of these areas that are horizontal in nature, that undoubtedly have a lot of manual effort going into them now. And I can tell you from firsthand experience from a customer I'm working with, one of the areas they're trying to tackle with agentic automation is the end of month or end of quarter, end of year close time or close process, right? That process is extremely manual and puts a heavy burden on finance and accounting people. And this organization that I'm working with is trying to use agentic to figure out ways to offload some of that manual work onto either a robot or an agent to save the human the time and effort required to do some of these manual things. So taking these horizontal use cases to the line of business, that's starting the dialogue, is a great way to get engaged with your line of business and find valuable use cases for agentic automation.
Yes, absolutely. And on top of it, these are the process agent is taking care of, but there's a process happening before the agent and after the agent. And usually they are robotic process automation is required. Because, for example, for general ledger coding, before doing general ledger coding, you have to extract all the itemized information from the system, and some kind of a trigger event has to kick the whole process. So you have to define those. You don't really want to do that within the agent scope. You want those more defined process to be ran by robots and kick the agent. And once the agent do the actual classification or some kind of process, then you pass those data into the next robotic process automation or API automation. So you really have to make sure you narrow down the scope of the agent. This is why we are listing those agent common patterns word if we, as our agent scope. Anything outside within the process, you should probably start thinking using robotic process automation or API automation.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that, Masaki. That's a little bit of myth busting, right? Because in the frothiness, in the excitement of the agentic automation world, some people that aren't familiar with robotic process automation or don't have a history in it or have never built a tool to do RPA believe or have a false perception, call it a myth, if you will, that agents can do and should do everything. But as you illuminate, that's actually not the case, right? There are many, many things in an end-to-end process where the traditional robot, whether it's attended or unattended, is actually the better solution for a lot of reasons, many of which you mentioned, right? Security, governance, cost, efficiency, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the agent also has a very valuable role to play. So it's not either or, it's really both and in an end-to-end enterprise type process like the ones we're showing here.
Yes. Yeah, and I have a great example of robot and agent working all together. And on top of it, not only UiPath robot and the agent, but also Microsoft Power Automate and Copilot.
All right, personally, what over this next slide then, Masaki, because you just teed it up.
Yes. So the next slide I'm showing here is a use case we worked with Johnson Control. Johnson Control is a very collaborative company. We worked together many years, and they also use Microsoft Power Automate, and we actually co-presented a presentation at the Microsoft Build to show their successful agentic automation deployment. Their use case was around account receivable inquiry agent solution. So whenever they have inquiry about invoice from their customer, JCI's customer, things like, hey, my invoice payment is going to be delayed. It's going to be 7 days late. Or I haven't got the invoice from you guys. Can you send me the new invoice? You get a variety of invoice related questions from customers. And the Johnson Control specifically, they have 500,000 emails annually. And it's a lot to handle. Previously, there are people who are working on classification of the invoice intent and the extraction of the invoice number or amount, which used to take time. But we worked with Microsoft, and we used Power Automate UiPath Agent to tackle this use case. And as a result, we were able to unlock 18,000 hours of saving annually. And we were able to increase the ROI by 500%. And because of this successful landing, now Johnson Control is going to even more agentic in terms of the way they're going to automate things. This was a really novel use case that JCI initiated their agentic use case. So I wanted to showcase this one.
I think this is a great one, Masaki, because it illuminates a couple of things for our audience. Number one, it illuminates the fact that UiPath and Microsoft work together, right? So many of our customers have a Microsoft presence, some very large, some medium, some small, but nonetheless, Microsoft is an important partner of ours. And I think what JCI did really illuminates the ability of Microsoft and UiPath to play together nicely and deliver real world benefits for a customer. I think that's that's the thing that stands out for me the most in this specific use case.
Yes. And what I learned through this engagement is Microsoft Copilot is an amazing tool. It has its own strengths. It has really great integration ecosystem within Microsoft 360, for example. But UiPath Agent also has strengths around connectivity around them, pretty much any kind of applications. And it has structured input-output schema, which is very critical for back-end automation use cases. And the UiPath agent has evaluation capability. You just provide the test data set, and you can immediately test your status of like how well agent perform. And we can even provision health score. We have a way to calculate how well agent is acting based on the test data set. So that will bring you developers to have agile development style. So all development flow is going to be really fast.
Yeah, I think that's critical. In fact, ever since I've been at UiPath, I consistently get this question from customers. Should I use Power Automate for automation? This is kind of prior to Agentic. Should I use Power Automate? Should I use UiPath? And I have not seen a case where it hasn't been a both and scenario, right? Power Automate is very good for some things. UiPath is very good for other things, and the overlap is very small. And I think we're seeing something very similar develop in the agentic space, right? Where Copilot and their agentic solutions have a place, certainly. UiPath and our agentic solutions have a place also. And in most cases, we're going to play better together, and it's going to be for the benefit of the customer.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Most of our customers have multiple solutions in automation, and it's going to be likely the case for agents. Not even only Microsoft, it could be Salesforce Agentforce, ServiceNow's agent, and coded agent like LangChain, Clue AI. UiPath's approach is use the agent or automation makes sense to you guys. We will be the coordination layer, agentic orchestration layer. We also have, of course, our own agent building experience, robotic process automation experience, API automation experience. But the most important part is use the tool that makes sense for each team or department. And you can still coordinate all the components by using UiPath as our agentic orchestration layer.
Yeah, that's right. Masaki, for the benefit of the audience, could you illuminate how the UiPath agent, Copilot, the UiPath robots, and Power Automate kind of worked in tandem or in sync to deliver these amazing results for JCI?
Yeah, so JCI already initially developed this solution with Power Automate and the API call through, OpenAI's GPT model through API. But challenge was there was no agentic loop within the actual API call. So the output was not as sophisticated as they wanted first. So they started thinking of using concept of an agent. Where UiPath is taking care of the extraction of the data from the emails. We got hundreds of test data sets, and we ran different prompts to test out what kind of prompt would work the best. And because of the evaluation capability we had, we were able to have really fast improvement iteration. And as a result, it only took 2 person days to make the production level agent. So that was really novel. And where Copilot it's still under the development, but it's going to be in charge of is classification part. Because Copilot has really good integration with Outlook, and it's native, pretty much native connection. So Copilot is going to take care of the classification of the email intent, and it will pass that classification information to UiPath. So it has the context of what kind of information should be extracted from the actual email.
That makes sense. Where in this process was traditional robots leveraged? Front end and back end?
Yeah, it's going to be backend. So after the extraction, sorry, thank you for reminding me about robot part. After the robot UiPath agent extraction, the UiPath robot is going to use those classified email intent information and extracted data from the email to operate in the application side. Because depending on the email intent, the operation you have to do, the later part of the process changes, and the data you have to input in the system is going to change. So UiPath robot is going to use those classified and extracted data to operate the actual system operation.
That's great. That's phenomenal. And again, I think that's what this does for our audience. It illuminates how you get a lot of value by putting together these traditional robots with the agents. And then, of course, you have the orchestration layer, and then you have a human in the loop layer also, right? All of that is contained within the UiPath platform and ready for the customer to leverage. That's such a dynamic use case that I hope our audience can learn from. I know you were very involved in this, Masaki. Is there any other key learnings from this specific use case or the other ones that we showed earlier that you would leave our audience with today?
Yeah, through this engagement, I really learned that there are a lot of stakeholders in organization, and they have their own preference around which tool they want to use. Again, some team might prefer using agent force because they want to do something around sales data, which sits in Salesforce. For those people using Salesforce ecosystem product is going to be just easier. Their learning curve is going to be less path for them. And for IT team, they might prefer coding, LangChain, Glue AI. So we learned everybody has different preferences. So I think it is important to not to kind of enforce too much each team, like, hey, you have to use these two. Rather than that, let them test out a lot of capability among different applications and capability, and you can still coordinate those agent and application automation capability in a one single source by using UiPath. So I think that value proposition really resonate a lot of customers throughout multiple engagements, because they do recognize that there are a lot of AI initiatives going on led by different teams.
Yeah, that's really great advice and wisdom for customers looking to embark on an agentic automation journey, because like you said, different lines of businesses, IT, et cetera, they may come to the table with different preferences. And I think at this stage in the game, with agentic automation being still fairly new, it is important, like you said, to be flexible on how you think about, how you deploy, how you develop, how you outline, all those things around agentic automation. It's really important for the business and for IT to be flexible, and the vendor, of course, to be flexible in the approach, because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do, and I think this should be the North Star, right, is you're trying to deliver real benefits to the organization, and like we see with JCI, real ROI to the business. That's the critical thing, right? So I really like that you shared that last part with us, because I think everybody can learn from being flexible as they approach this new and very exciting technology.
Yes. And Bill, I heard you also have some of the use cases you've encountered. Please let us know about what you saw at the customer's conversation.
Yeah, well, actually, you pretty much hit on all the key points that I was going to mention, right? So I don't think I have a lot to add, although that specific use case will be public soon. So once it is, we will bring it to you on the Agentic Advantage. But for now, I think we covered most of the high points, and we can leave our audience with those because next time we'll be able to share even more use cases with them so that they can figure out how to deploy agentic automation for their organizations. So with that, I hope that was valuable. And in the comments, please leave us other ideas, suggestions, or questions you have about these use cases. Or if you want to see a specific type of use case, please let Masaki and I know, and we'll bring that to one of the next episodes of the Agentic Advantage. But for now, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.